Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. Please let me know in the chat box if the audio is clear and screen is visible to all of you. If the background music is too loud, please let me know in the chat box. I'm good. Thank you so much, Junie. I'm good. Good evening. I hope all of you are doing good. All right, then let's start the stream. And if you guys have not liked the stream yet, please make sure to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel also. I know that a lot many people who usually watch these live streams, they are not subscribed to the YouTube channel. So make sure that you have already done that. And also, if you are not following me over Twitter, I occasionally share my analysis and a few of my calls over my Twitter account also. So make sure that you are following me over Twitter. We just recently reached 5,000 followers over the Twitter account. So yeah, please make sure to follow me over Twitter as well. And join the Discord server. The link for the Discord server you're going to find in the description of this video. So yeah, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like this live stream, follow me over Twitter, and yes, join the Discord server also. And by the way, we are going to have a giveaway towards the end of the live stream. I would be giving away 2 free monthly premium subscriptions for Foxian. So yeah, make sure that you are watching this live stream carefully, and towards the end of the live stream I would announce the winners of the giveaway. All you have to do is simply just follow the steps. You should have subscribed to the YouTube channel, you must have liked this live stream, and you must be following me over Twitter. Yeah, so these are all the requirements that you need to be fulfilled in order to participate in the giveaway. I would be announcing the winner towards the end of the live stream. Okay, so let's take a look at the market. Bitcoin at this moment, it's currently trading around 100,600, And by the way, if you guys may have any questions, please make sure to drop in the chat box. I will try to get back to you as soon as I'm done with the general market update and everything. uh, I would take up all the questions, but make sure that you just have to wait till I finish the market update and everything. Uh, Surprise at this moment is around 100,600, and it is expected 20 minutes till the US market opens up, and it is expected that price would ultimately drop down to 98,500, 98,600, even 98,000 also. This is where I'm expecting price to drop down to. But if we are lucky, and if you don't know about that, I have a long position on Bitcoin open. I did not announce it over my Twitter account, but I have a long position on Bitcoin, the limits for which are placed at 95,636. This is my first entry for the Bitcoin long position. The DCA is at, I guess it is around 93,700, and stop loss is the manual 4-hour close below 92,700. All right. So make sure that if you do not have these limits placed, make sure to place the limits at 95,636, and then the DCA is at 93,700. The stop loss is going to be manual 4-hour close below 92,700. The final target, it's going to be 110k, and then finally 120k. This is going to be a very important live stream because we have to answer a few questions related to altcoins, related to where exactly Bitcoin is headed towards. Why are we struggling to break above 108k? What exactly is so special about this price point, 108k, 107k? So all these questions will be answered in this stream. First of all, this rejection at 102,787, this was not a random price point. Like I always say this thing that, if wherever price is bouncing off from, wherever it's having rejection from, you can always find a proper reasoning for that. None of the none of the price moves that are happening on the charts, they are random, which means that you can find a reasoning for each one of these moves. So if we look at this move right here, if we look at this rejection right here, we know that this is a huge impulsive wave, right? We are looking at the 4-hour time frame chart, and if you would look at the higher time frame chart, for example, 12-hour time frame or 1 day time frame chart, you would notice that this is a huge impulsive move, right? This is a huge impulsive bearish wave. And before I explain to you the reason for this rejection around here, let me be very clear on this part, that the market structure for Bitcoin still remains bullish. As long as we do not have a 4-hour close below 90,527, everything is good. And still there was a possibility that we may have a wick down to 85,000. We still cannot rule out the possibility of that, right? But the point is that the market structure on the 4-hour time frame chart for Bitcoin, it's definitely bullish. Price has still been in a bullish structure on the 4-hour time frame chart, which means that you still don't have anything to worry about. As long as you don't have a 4-hour candle close below this wick right here, you have absolutely nothing to be worried about. Okay, so we were talking about the rejection at 102,000, this price point right here. First of all, we all know that there is an obvious resistance present around here. If I just ignore this horizontal line, you can simply just use a rectangle tool, and you can notice that we had a rejection previously at this price point back on 5th of December, right? Then we had a bounce at this price point. It was on 16th of December. Once again, another small bounce right here. It was on 18th of December, right? And then we had a rejection. Sorry, then we had a break below this level. We consolidated a little bit, then came back up, perfectly retested this area, and we had a move towards downside. And I'm a big fan, for those of you who have been actively following me, actively following my calls, they would know that I'm a big fan of fib levels. I'm a big fan of support and resistance levels, and almost 90% of my calls, they are based on support and resistance. And support and resistance, that is also a primary confluence in my trading strategy. All right. And by the way, almost 77 people are watching the live stream, and only 38 of you have liked it. So, make sure to, press the like button, make sure to like the live stream, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So, I'm a big fan. I was saying that I'm actually a big fan of support and resistance levels, and you can notice this, that price struggled to hold above this level. And there is something really important, this level 108K. There is something absolutely important about this level. This price rejection right here at 108,000, it was not random at all, right? Nothing that's happening on the chart, all of these things, all of these price moves that are taking place on the chart, none of these price moves are actually random. All of them have a proper reasoning behind. All of them can be explained in terms of a proper logic, right? So we will be talking about that part later on, this rejection right here. But we know that one reason we can find out about this price rejection is because this is an important resistance area. Rejection, bounce, rejection, and once again we had another rejection around here. Obviously, you could have not said with 100% surety that price would be having some kind of rejection at 102,000, based on only support and resistance. Because remember this thing, when it comes to support and resistance, I always say this statement that the first retest, it is always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short trade, right? By the time you have second retest, by the time you have third retest, the chances of winning in that setup, they're significantly reduced, which means that if the first retest is happening, and the first retest was this one, this was the first retest, the moment the first retest happens, you can definitely say that there is obviously going to be some kind of reaction at this price point. For example, we had a break above, and this was the first retest. Price definitely reacted at the first retest, and this is what I'm talking about. I'm teaching this to my students also, that the first retest, it is always your single best opportunity, and there is hardly any instance, right? Until and unless something really crazy happens, the first retest, it is always usually a very successful one. So in this situation, this was the first retest, and this was the second retest. And that's why I'm saying that although this was a very strong resistance area, price has always struggled to hold above this region. But you could have not said that with you could have not said with 100% surety that price would be having some kind of rejection around it. Okay. But one thing all of us would agree over is that this is a very important impulsive wave. This is a huge impulsive bearish move towards downside. And if you would look at it on the higher time frame chart, like on the daily time frame chart, it would become much more clear. This is a huge impulsive move towards downside. And we know that whenever we have impulsive moves in one direction, what is our most important, what is our most favorite tool? It is always Fibonacci retracement levels, right? And what's the most important fib level that we are always talking about? That level is 65% fib level. So what we would do is that we would draw the fib levels from the start of impulsive wave. That's basically how you draw the fib levels, right? I'm a big fan of fib levels. I have been using these levels ever since I started with trading. I have some weird ways of drawing the fib levels also. Some people don't agree with the ways that I draw the fib levels. Sometimes, in sometimes ahead in time, sometimes back in time also. So sometimes I would be drawing the fib levels from right to left and sometimes from left to right, and it's absolutely acceptable. You don't have to worry about that as long as it is working, as long as you have a working fractal on the price chart. It's completely up to you how you would want to draw the fib levels. So in this situation, you have a huge impulsive move towards downside. This is a start of impulsive wave. This is the end of impulsive wave. And based on fib levels, you could have expected some kind of price rejection around 65% Fibonacci level. Now, for those of you who have been watching some of my previous live streams also, I'm always talking about fibs, right? And I'm always trying my best to explain all the possible moves, all the bigger price swings in terms of fib levels. Almost every single price move, it can perfectly be explained in terms of fib levels. And similar is the case with this one also. And that's not 61%, sometimes 70%, 70% level, that is the favorite level for people who practice some trading strategies like optimal trade entry and all those things. 61.80, that is probably the most famous Fibonacci level. It is sometimes referred to as golden ratio as well, but my personal favorite is 65% fib level that nobody talks about. So 65% fib level, usually, in my personal opinion, usually the price rejections or price reactions are always happening in between 61.80 and 65% fib level. Obviously, you can place your limits at 65% fib level for any long or short position, but usually the reaction is always happening in between 61.80 and 65% fib level. And this is what exactly we saw happen in this situation also. Price perfectly rejected around 61 point at 65% fib level, and now it's dropping, right? The reason why I'm expecting price to give some kind of reaction around here, first of all, because in terms of support and resistance, this region, it has been fully reclaimed. You can see that price had a break above, it consolidated a little bit, and now we have now most probably we are going to see some kind of retest at 98.5k. If you are looking to take a long position around the current market price, please don't attempt doing that, because there is every possibility that price may have a bounce around here. The only reason why I have placed my limit slightly lower at 95,000, 94,000, this is mainly because I'm not looking to trade Bitcoin in this situation, because this is first of all going to be a very volatile week. If I show you the economic calendar for this week, we have unemployment claims, and if I'm not wrong, Thursday market is going to be closed. US market is going to be closed. It's a holiday. And on Wednesday, tomorrow, we have unemployment claims. Then we have FOMC meeting also. FOMC meeting minutes are also going to be released. And then we have unemployment claims and non-farm payroll data coming out on Friday, which means that it definitely is going to be a very volatile week. And we have seen that how price reacts around these kind of events. So 98.5k, you can expect some kind of reaction at this price point. For example, since this is an impulsive move towards upside, so we have every right to draw the volume profiles from the start of impulsive wave, end of impulsive wave. Once again, everybody has their own way of using volume profiles. Some people like to use a fixed range volume profile. Some people like to use them in different sessions. Some people like to use the daily profiles. But yeah, this is the way that I usually volume profiles. not for every impulsive move. Usually when I notice that, okay, price just decisively moved in one direction, that's when I'm usually using the volume profiles also. And in this situation, you can clearly notice that there is a very important point of control present around here, which means that every possibility that price may have some kind of reaction at 98.5k, but my personal point of interest, my personal zone of interest has been 95.6k, 95.5k. This is where I'm expecting price to go back down to, and this is where I'm expecting price to give some kind of reaction. All right, I'm not looking to trade price at 98.5k, although it's completely up to you. There is still a possibility that we may see some kind of bounce happening around here. If we look at the dynamic lines, let me just turn off the rest of the indicators and let's just quickly take a look at the dynamic lines. And if you guys, if you guys are actually in the Discord server, I share market updates daily. In my Discord server, I have like, 2 to 3 different channels, and there is this channel called Market Updates. And every single day, from morning to evening, as long as I am sitting on the charts, looking at the market, I'm usually always sharing the market updates. And I remember back on 30th of December, right, when price was trading around 91.5k, I mentioned this in the market updates channel in my Discord server that I would have definitely taken a long position at 91.5k, because this is the region of the ELD VWAP. And by the way, if you are wondering that, what indicator this is an indicator that I developed myself. These are not traditional VWAP indicators, which means that you are not going to find out these indicators in the TradingView terminal. You would have to join the Discord server. You would have to simply just, and by the way, these indicators, they're absolutely free. All you have to do is join the Discord server, open up a support ticket, and the support staff, they would share the script with you for these indicators. This pink line right here, this one is the yearly VWAP on the 4-hour time frame chart, and this one is the quarterly VWAP on the 4-hour time frame chart. Once again, I'm always using dynamic lines, but not all the dynamic lines. 1 day 12 period exponential moving average, visualizing them on the smaller time frame chart, this is one of my most favorite indicator, most favorite dynamic line indicator. And then the quarterly VWAP, yearly VWAP, these two are my most favorite indicators. Once again, you can access these indicators absolutely free. All you have to do is simply just open up a support ticket. They would share the script with you. You would open up your TradingView terminal. You would go to Pine editor, you would copy paste that script, and then you would simply just add that indicator to the chart. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this indicator, or the reason why I want all of you to use this indicator, is because it's really important. You can actually notice this, you can actually see this for yourself, that ELD VWAP, how important it is. Price precisely reacted at this ELD VWAP. And it's not just about the Bitcoin chart, it's about the USDT dominance chart also, which we are going to talk about later on. It's about the Bitcoin dominance chart also. It's about BTC USDT.3s, BTC USDT.3l, or any other chart, any other altcoin chart. These things, they are reacting in a very same manner, right? They're reacting in a very same manner. If I just show you a quick example of this, just yesterday we took a long trade on this pair, right? Foxy USDT. And you can just see this for yourself, that I was telling people that price has been struggling to break above this ELD VWAP. And this is what exactly happened. Price went all the way up to the ELD VWAP, and then we had some massive rejection around the ELD VWAP. So the point is that, these indicators, they are not just random. And, these are not traditional VWAP indicators. You're not going to find out in the indicators terminal. You would have to open up a support ticket and request the script from the support staff. And the good part is that it's absolutely free, which means you wouldn't have to pay anything for that. So the point is that I was talking about, back on 30th of December, right, when price was trading around 91,500. I mentioned this in my market updates channel, that I would have definitely taken a long position at 91,500 price point, but I did not do that because I had like too many long positions open at that point. I had like 2 to 3 long positions open at one point, and this is what my risk tolerance is. Usually I only have like 2 to 3 open long positions that are running at risk, which means that if stop loss has been moved to break even, then that's absolutely fine. You don't have to worry about those positions. But if the stop loss has not been moved to break even, then maximum I can have like only 2 to 3 open positions in one direction. For example, as of now, we have one open long position for which the stop loss has not been moved to break even, and that one is for XPG USDT, right? That one is trading slightly below the entry point. But I was talking about the ELD VWAP, right? And the reason why this retest of ELD VWAP was so important, because this was the first instance ever since on 5th of November, right? Price had a break above. So you can actually notice that the last retest of this region was back on 10th of October, right? Price had a break above this region back on 18th of September, and then we had the first perfect retest of this region at 59,000 back on 10th of October, right? And ever since, Trump won election back on 5th of November, right? Almost in 2, 3, 4 months, we have not seen a retest of this region. Okay, and this is what made this retest so important, and this is why it's such an important dynamic line also, that this is an yearly VWAP. And you can actually notice this thing, that this yearly VWAP, it's a non-anchored yearly VWAP. The traditional VWAP indicators that are available on the TradingView terminal, they're usually anchored ones, which means that as soon as a new year would start, or a new quarter would start, or a new month would start, or a new week would start, these VWAP indicators, they would anchor themselves as per the new data. But this one, it simply just takes into account the data for the past 365 days, which means that it's at this price point, it's simply just taking into account the data from 7th of January 2025 to 7th of January 2024. At this price point, it was taking into account the data from 14th of December 2024 back to 14th of December 2023, which means that it is not anchored at a specific price point. And this is a difference between anchored and non-anchored VWAP indicators also. So this is not a traditional VWAP indicator. This is a non-anchored VWAP indicator. And that's why this retest, it was so important, because ever since we had a break above, 60,000, 65,000, 73,000, we did not retest the yearly VWAP. And this was going to be the first retest at yearly VWAP. And that's exactly why it was so important. And regarding this short trade that we took almost like 2 weeks ago, this was also based on the idea of equal highs, and this was based on the idea of rejection at the 4-hour quarterly VWAP. And that's why the VWAP indicator is it is such a powerful indicator, and it's also my favorite dynamic line indicator also. Obviously, you can experiment with a few other dynamic lines, like you have 200 period exponential moving average. Some people like to trade with weekly 12 period exponential moving average. 1 day 12 period exponential moving average is also a really good indicator. But the point is that, by the time price drops back down to this region, possibly this 4-hour quarterly VWAP, it would move back up to this region. But this is what my entry point is, and this is where you can expect some kind of reaction. I don't know what the intensity of reaction is going to be, because if you look at this fractal right here, if you look at this huge impulsive move towards downside and this corrective wave towards upside, you would notice that the reaction at 65% fib level, that was always supposed to happen. This is something which is not extraordinary. And that's why the 65% rejection, 65% reaction just happened. Okay, now, and this is where my long position is at this price, at this moment, around 95,000. Sooner or later, in my opinion, price would drop down to 95,000. People are getting too comfortable about this 100K reclaim. They are not looking at things in a bigger picture. Obviously, we have Trump's inauguration on 20th of January, which in my opinion is going to be another bullish event. I just got a DM from one of my students. He was saying that, what is your idea about what is your idea about 20th of January? Like, what exactly is going to happen? And he was saying that he was expecting some kind of a major dump. I don't know about the major dump, but I know one thing, that Q1 2024, that definitely is going to be bullish for altcoins, definitely. And for Bitcoin, we would see what happens, because the important point at this moment is that this reaction at 108K, you must be thinking that uh, you know, why would price have some kind of reaction at 108K? What was so special about 108K? And this is what we are going to talk about next also, that why exactly price reacted at 108K. And if you have been following some of my previous market updates, some of my live streams, you would know this thing that, when price was trading around 100K, 98K, at that point, I did mention that the next all-time high for Bitcoin, it could definitely be formed around 107K to 110K. And then there is possibility, if price is able to break above that spot, there is possibility it may go back up. It may go up to 120K, 122K. Now, you must be thinking that there is no historical data available at 108K. Why exactly is he talking about 108K being such an important level, right? But before we move on to that point, let me just quickly, tell you another thing that, this we have these massive trend lines. And during the last month, since I did not have a stable internet connection, my internet finally got installed almost a week ago, and now I have the best possible internet connection, right? I was doing the live streams in the Discord server. I was not doing live stream over YouTube because YouTube live streams, they require usually good internet connection. Now I have the best one, almost like 1 GB per second internet connection. It's all working good. I was telling people during that update that, price would definitely sooner or later price would break below the trend line. Okay, I don't know how many of you actually pay attention to these trend lines, but you know, uh, if you are trading in a bull market, my first suggestion for you would be always keep your IQ low. You need to be a low IQ person if you are trading in the bull market. You need not to have an IQ 160, 170 if you have to trade a bull market, which means that if you would be using like 20, 30, 40, 50 different confluences, that definitely is not going to work for you because you would have that analysis paralysis, right? Which means that only 2 to 3 solid confluences, that is going to be more than enough for you. Support, resistance, trend line, that's more than enough. The reason why I'm emphasizing on trend lines is because I wanted to tell you guys that look at the data for quarter 1 2024. That's when we had a huge rally for altcoins. Then compare the data for the last quarter of 2024, and then compare the data for the last like 1 or 2 weeks, for 2025 and for 2024 December, right? You would notice that every single altcoin that had a major breakout, it had a breakout above this kind of a trend line, which means that if you wish to be, if you wish to trade a bull market successfully, if you wish to trade altcoins successfully, you must be able to spot this trend line right here. This is a trend line that I have drawn in front of you. I can show you multiple examples of this. Just like I said, soon after this live stream ends, compare the data for 2024 quarter 1, compare the data for the last quarter of 2024. Every single altcoin, almost 99.99% of them that made a huge move towards upside, always had a breakout above this kind of a trend line. That's why you absolutely need to pay attention to this trend line. And whenever you spot this kind of a trend line, this is usually what I tell to my students also, and during my live streams also, that you should never really trade against this kind of a trend line or this kind of a trend line. These are the two most important forms of trend line. The rest of these trend lines are simply just a modifications of these two, right? You could simply just draw it like this, or you could draw it like this, or something like this. But the important part is that if you spot this trend line, never ever try to take a long trade, because you know that sooner or later price would break below this trend line. And this is something that I was telling to my students also, in the Discord server, also to my audience also, when I was doing the live stream in Discord, that price would ultimately break below this trend line, and it's going to be a very impulsive break towards downside. And this is exactly what we saw happen next, that price had a very impulsive move towards downside. And let me just quickly show you that how can you trade this trend line. The simplest possible way of trading a trend line is that, let's just say that you have a trend line drawn like this, okay, and you notice that price is bouncing off this trend line over and over again. You have first bounce, third bounce, fourth bounce. Never ever try to take a long trade at the bounce of this trend line. This is my advice for all of you. No matter if it's a bull market, no matter if it's a bear market, never ever try to take a long position at the bounce of this trend line. We have talked about this thing over and over again, that ultimately price would have a break towards downside, because all those people who are beginner traders, and surprisingly, during the last few months, I have seen some experienced traders do the very same mistake. They spot this trend line and they would expect the price to bounce off this trend line, despite knowing the fact that this kind of a trend line, it's a complete trap for the beginners. Ultimately, price would have a very impulsive break towards downside. The reason for this is because all those people who are spotting this trend line, they would be placing their long positions and they would be placing the stop losses just below these lows, which creates a huge amount of liquidity in this region, which creates a huge number of sell stops placed below these lows. And ultimately price would have a very impulsive break towards downside, and it would try taking out all of these stop losses. Okay, and the way that you can trade this trend line, there are two most important ways. I would not go into more details on that, but yeah, let me just quickly show you how you can do that. You would simply just draw a higher time frame support. By higher time frame support, I mean to say starting from the 4 hour time frame chart, going all the way up to, it's completely up to you, 8 hour, 12 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. The next thing you would do is simply just draw a higher time frame support somewhere around here, and then you would expect the price to drop back down to this higher time frame support. You would expect the price to, break very impulsively down to this higher time frame support. That's where you can take a long position, and then you can set your TP at this region right here. As soon as price gives a bearish retest at this trend line, you would simply just close your long position. And the second entry model is that you would simply just wait for price to go back up to this trend line, and that's where you would try to take a short position. The reason why I'm showing you is because I actually wanted to explain to you all of these different price moves. This is the Bitcoin chart. This is the trend line, the first bounce, second bounce, third bounce, fourth bounce. And how would you know that price is about to break below a trend line? How would you know that price is about to simply just break below the trend line? Uh, Looking at the bounces. The same rule applies on support and resistance levels also, and the same rule applies on trend lines also. You would wait for price to break below, and how would you know that it's about to break below? Ultimately, it's gonna happen, right? But how would you know that it's about to happen this time? When the retracements are getting smaller and smaller. Because remember this rule, the first one in my trading strategy, the first rule says that the first retest is always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short trade. And the second rule says that if price is hitting into a level over and over again and the retracements are getting smaller, then price is about to break above or break below that level. And in this case, you can see that price had the first bounce, the second bounce, the third bounce, the fourth bounce, and then at the time of fifth bounce, price had a very small bounce in this region, which is basically showing you that the buyers present in this area, they are ultimately losing their interest. They are ultimately not wanting to take further long positions at this point, or they're simply just closing their long positions, and ultimately price would have a break below. And this is what exactly happened. Price had a break below, went all the way down to this higher time frame support, created a perfect deviation move around here. You could have taken a long position at this area or at this area, then went back up to this resistance area. The reason why I'm saying resistance is because this is a bearish retest of the trend line. So you could have taken a long position at this price point, or you could have simply just taken a long position at this resistance area, or you could have taken a long position after price created this perfect deviation move. I wouldn't go into the details of deviation move because I think I have explained it in some of my previous live streams, but almost 81 people, 82 people are watching the live stream. Remember this thing that, at the end of the live stream, I would be announcing the winners of the giveaway for 2 free monthly premium subscriptions. Just a week ago, we announced the winners of 2 lifetime subscriptions for Foxian. And all you have to do is simply just subscribe to the YouTube channel, like this video, and you must be following me over my Twitter account, Sherlock Vale. This is my Twitter handle. Okay, so this is what this is actually the way that you would try to trade these trend lines. And the second type of trend line is this one, right? You have the first rejection, you have the second rejection, you have the third rejection, and we know that you would only need three possible reactions at a level. It could be in terms of support and resistance, it could be in terms of trend line. You would only need three possible reactions, and then the further authenticity or the legitimacy of that trend line is simply just confirmed. You would need only three possible reactions, and you can see that price had a very impulsive move towards upside. The reason, once again, I'm explaining this to you is, I want you to understand how important these trend lines are, and I want you to understand how to trade these trend lines. Never ever try to trade opposite to these trend lines, right? Secondly, if you would look at the smaller time frame chart, on the 1 hour time frame chart, although it's not too important, but you can notice a similar kind of trend line being formed somewhere around here as well. You have the first bounce, you have the second bounce, you have the third bounce, and most probably price, as soon as it would drop down to 99.5k, it's going to have another bounce at this trend line. And that's why I'm warning you that if you are looking to take any long position, if you're looking to build any long position on Bitcoin, and that's why I have been avoiding this a little bit. And I would show you this morning, usually as soon as I open up my charts. I try to find some kind of position. I, share that in my channel. But this morning I did not do that because I have been simply waiting for price to give some kind of decisive move. Because at this moment, there is every possibility that we may have a break below this trend line, although support is present around 98.5k, although an important point of control is present around 98.5k. And this is not the higher time frame chart, this is actually the 1 hour time frame chart. But still, this trend line is in formation, and we know the rule about the trend lines, right? The first bounce, the second bounce, the third bounce, this trend line authenticity has been absolutely confirmed. Now it's only a matter of time that price breaks below this trend line. It may happen immediately, it may not happen immediately, but ultimately that is going to happen. It's going to be a very impulsive move towards downside. In my opinion, uh, maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in 2 days, maybe in 2 hours, price is sooner or later going to retest 98.5k. And we know that we have another long position limits placed around 85k. That is my ultimate point of interest. If at some point in time price goes back down to 85k, in my opinion, that is going to be a very good opportunity to build some long position. But the US market just opened up 13 minutes ago, and we are seeing some kind of reaction. Obviously, you would have to wait a little bit to see what kind of reaction we notice. But at this moment, this is a strong resistance area. This is a support at this point, and price is still ranging somewhere in the middle. So you need not to bother it, much at this point. And this reaction around here at 65%, this was not a random reaction at all. Now let's quickly take a look at the USDT dominance chart, the BTC USDT.3s chart, and BTC USDT.3l chart, right? And then we would take a look at why exactly Bitcoin had some kind of rejection at 108k. What is so special about 108k? Because there is no historical data available at there was no historical data available at this price point. You could have not looked at chart and said that okay, maybe there is a resistance present at 108k, and that's why price is going to have some rejection around this price point. No, that was not really the case. And this is what is so special about all-time highs and all-time lows also, that you have a very limited number of options. Your options are very limited when price is trading at its all-time high or at its all-time low, and that's why you need to select your options very carefully. Okay, let's just quickly take a look at the USDT dominance chart also, and I would be answering the most important question about an altcoin rally as well. For the USDT dominance chart, you can notice that if you are absolutely clueless looking on the Bitcoin chart, you would always have the option to look at some of the other charts that are positively or negatively correlated with Bitcoin. The one of them, the most important one of them being USDT dominance. And in terms of USDT dominance, we noticed that okay, price had some kind of reaction around here, rejection around here, the first rejection, the bounce around here, this is the support, this is the resistance, and price was literally moving in a sandwich situation. Bounce, bounce, rejection, rejection, bounce, once again rejection, a small bounce, rejection. And then ultimately, once again, I remember that price was trading at this trend line, the first bounce, the second bounce, the third bounce. The authenticity of this trend line, it was confirmed as soon as price was bouncing off this trend line. And at that time, I did mention this. And the reason why I'm saying this over and over again is because market updates channel, more important than calls, more important than swing trading channel in my Discord server, more important than spot trading channel, the market updates channel, that is the most important one. I don't know how many people actually pay attention to that channel or not, but that is the most important channel in my opinion in the Discord server, market updates, in which I'm sharing every single market update, as soon as the developments are happening in the market. So in this situation also, when price was bouncing off on the USDT dominance chart, and by the way, this is a negatively correlated chart with Bitcoin, which means that price on the Bitcoin chart, if it would go up, price on the USDT dominance chart, it would go down. Price on the Bitcoin chart, if it would go down, price on the USDT dominance chart, it would go up, because they are negatively correlated with each other or inversely correlated with each other. Now, price was bouncing off this trend line. Once again, the same theory applies for trend lines on any of the price charts, be it a stock chart, be it a chart for any commodity, be it a chart for any index, be it a chart for crypto, be it a chart for any pair, right? You would always expect price to ultimately break very impulsively below the trend line, give a reaction at high time frame support, go back up, give a nice bearish retest, and then ultimately drop back down. So same situation happened here as well. price was bouncing. The first bounce, the second bounce, the third bounce. As soon as the third bounce happened, the authenticity of this trend line, it was absolutely confirmed. Then we had a break below. Price fell back down to this higher time frame support. And this was not just a higher time frame support. This was also the support in terms of quarterly and yearly VWAP. And we know the rule. These are all unwritten rules. These rules you are not going to find out over Twitter or any other YouTube video. These are the rules that I have created myself, looking at these dynamic lines, looking at these confluences, working with these confluences for the past 7 years, right? So, whenever the two dynamic lines, especially VWAPs, they're crossing each other, that becomes a very strong support and resistance area. And this is what I was saying in my channel also. Price had a very clear bounce at this horizontal support and both of these dynamic lines, and we moved back up a little bit. And then finally, we had a reaction at this resistance area in terms of bearish retest at this trend line, and then simply just we dropped back down. We had a break below this resistance area. We had a break below this level also. This is the level that price has been bouncing off on the USDT dominance chart. The bounce, the reactions, if you would like, you can simply just draw it in the form of rectangle tool also. Remember this thing, never ever try to draw the support and resistance levels in terms of horizontal lines, because support and resistance levels, they are not absolute levels, right? Which means that support is not present at 65,950. It's always a range, which means that someone would draw the support like this, someone may draw the support like this, or someone may draw the support like this. But that does not mean that I have support drawn at 98,500 and you have support drawn at 67,000. No, there could be a slight difference between the support levels, which means you may have drawn at 98,500, I may have at 98,000. But that does not mean that there is some drastic difference between the levels that you and I have drawn on on our price chart. Anyways, so this is what I'm talking about, right? Price had a break below this level. It was bouncing off the first bounce, then had a break below, reacted at this level a little bit, okay, and now this has become a resistance area, and now this is a support area, which means that on the USDT dominance chart, you may think, if you're only looking at the USDT dominance chart, and that's why it's so important to look at all of these price charts. If you're only looking at the USDT dominance chart, you would say that, this price on this chart, it's simply just sitting somewhere in the middle of nowhere, because this is the resistance and this is support. Price is simply just sitting in the middle of nowhere. But looking at the Bitcoin chart, you would ultimately realize that this rejection at this price point, it was not random at all. It was because of the Fib levels. It was because of the Fibonacci level. It was because of this horizontal resistance area present around here. And then we have a trend line also in formation. So in terms of USDT dominance chart, even if it goes back up a little bit, if it goes back up to 4% level, and this is usually the level at which the Bitcoin chart would go down to, if this one goes back up to this level, then Bitcoin price on a Bitcoin chart would go back down to 98,500, and then ultimately we would see some kind of reaction. If this USDT dominance chart, if price at this chart decides to go back up to 4.18 level, up to this red box, this is when you can expect price on the Bitcoin chart to drop back down to 95,000, which is our ultimate entry. And this is what I'm expecting, because the reaction at this level has not happened. And you know the rule, the first retest usually always happens. And the first retest, it is always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short trade. And since in this case, the first retest has not happened, I'm definitely expecting some kind of reaction at this resistance area, even if price goes back up to this red box. Okay, there is a rejection, there is a possibility that you may have a reaction at this level or at this level, but ultimately this yearly VWAP, this has not been retested ever since price had a break below this 4-hour quarterly VWAP. This black dynamic line right here, this one has not been retested ever since price had a break below on the USDT dominance chart, which means that people who are saying that price would just in one candle go back down to 90,000, go back down to 85,000, that is not going to happen immediately, right? Because we have, even looking at the Bitcoin chart, you may not have too many confluences present, right? But looking at the USDT dominance chart, you know that you have too many resistance areas present. This one, this is the first resistance, this is the second resistance, this is the third resistance, this is the fourth resistance, which means that if USDT dominance chart decides to go back up, it's not going to be an easy path, right? Next, let's just quickly take a look at BTC USDT.3S and BTC USDT.3L charts also. Almost 99% people who are trading in these markets, they have no idea that there are so many correlated charts with Bitcoin that they can take a look at and decide where exactly market is headed towards. I bet that nobody ever talks about BTC USDT.3s and BTC USDT.3L charts. And both of these charts, they are positively and negatively. BTC USDT.3L, it is positively correlated with Bitcoin, and BTC USDT.3s, it's negatively correlated with Bitcoin. So we are looking at BTC USDT.3L chart, and on this price chart also, you can notice this for yourself that just as price on the Bitcoin chart was hitting into a resistance area, price on the BTC USDT.3L chart also has been hitting into this resistance area, which means that even if you were not looking at BTC Bitcoin chart, actual Bitcoin chart, and you were only looking at BTC USDT.3L chart, you must have noticed that okay, price is about to have some kind of reaction at this resistance area. Now, if you would like to draw the fib levels also, this is your impulsive wave. This is the start of impulsive wave. This is end of impulsive wave. And notice, in the very beginning of the live stream, I talked about the importance of 65% fib level. And this is what exactly I'm talking about. And that's why I'm such a big fan of fib levels. People usually never talk about fib levels. In this situation, you can see that if you would draw the fib levels on BTC USDT.3L chart, which is positively correlated with the Bitcoin chart, which means that if Bitcoin would go up, this one would also go up. If Bitcoin would go down, this price on this chart would also go down. And if you are once again clueless looking at the Bitcoin chart, you can always look at any of these correlated charts, and any analysis that you would do on these correlated charts, it would simply just be reflected back on the Bitcoin chart also. So in terms of BTC USDT.3L, price was precisely hitting not only into this resistance area but also into 65% fib level. You can actually see this 65% fib level, it was perfectly tapped, and then price started moving downside. Now, we know that on BTC USDT.3L chart also you have dynamic lines in the form of this yearly VWAP, this quarterly VWAP, and then you have some sort of support, horizontal support present around here. Obviously, it's not a very strong support, but you definitely have some kind of support in the form of this horizontal region, right? Which means price at this region, it may react a little bit, which means price on the Bitcoin chart, it may react at 98,500. There is still a possibility. All the charts are pointing out in the same direction. But if you would draw the volume profile for this impulsive move towards upside, then there is a possibility that the reaction on this price chart, it may happen at this level, right? And if I draw the volume profile for this complete impulsive move towards downside, let's see where the point of control is present. Okay, so point of control for this level, for this impulsive move towards downside also is present around here, which means that this is going to be an important level. And if I were to take a long position on the Bitcoin chart, I would expect BTC USDT.3L price to drop back down to this point of control, and that's when I would attempt taking a long position, because this is also the region of quarterly and yearly VWAP. So many confluences are present around here. Let's alternatively take a look at BTC USDT.3S chart. If I remove all of these drawings, and let's just try to analyze this, because this is a very noisy chart, right? We know that there is a support present around here, but it's a very noisy chart. And let's just try to analyze this, uh, you know, using the fib retracement levels. Okay, this is a fib retracement level. If I just draw it back in time, this is the start of impulsive wave, this is end of impulsive wave. Once again, I know that a lot many people, they may not agree with this way of using the fib levels. Okay, but it's completely up to you how exactly you would like to use it. All you have to do is simply just find a working fractal. This one did not have any history of working at 127% level, but let's just try to use some other one. Maybe this one right here. But instead of using the fib levels, let's just try to use the support and resistance levels also. Okay, first of all, let's just try to use support and resistance levels. So you had the bounce happening around here, then price had a break below, consolidated a little bit, gave a small reaction at this level, then came back up, and then gave the first retest of this level, which in my opinion was always going to be a successful one, because the first retest, we all know it's always usually a successful retest, right? But apart from this, it's a very noisy chart. You cannot find anything interesting, I suppose. This is the volume profile for this complete impulsive move towards downside, which means that if price on BTC USDT dot 3S chart goes back up to this point, because this chart, it's negatively or inversely correlated with the Bitcoin chart, just like the USDT dominance chart. This is where you can expect some kind of reaction on the BTC, on the Bitcoin chart. So if this one goes back up to this level, goes back up something like this is where you can see some kind of reaction, some kind of resistance, but know that there is a support present around here. Similar is case with BTC USDT dot 3L chart also. This one has to go down a little bit, maybe a reaction at this level. And the Bitcoin chart, now that we are back at 100K, just like I mentioned at the very start of the live stream also, there is a possibility that price would ultimately go back down to this level. This is something that I've been mentioning over and over again. This was always supposed to happen, right? Because this level right here, 102K, this was not a random level. This was actually a very important level. And now we are approaching the trend line also. Somebody just mentioned in the chat box. Thank you so much for pointing it out. Now we are approaching the trend line also. If we start breaking below the trend line, ultimately we would go back down to maybe 95K, 96K, but it's still too early to say anything. There is a strong support present around 98.5K in terms of point of control, in terms of USDT dominance chart, in terms of the rest of the charts, right? Which means a very important support is present around here. That's why I was warning you over and over again that I have been a little bit reluctant to take any long positions at this moment, because Bitcoin dominance, which heavily dictates what happens with altcoins, is going in our favor. But the reason why I'm not doing it right now, the reason why I have been a little bit reluctant to take any long positions at this moment, is mainly because is mainly because of the fact that Bitcoin, it has every possibility of going down a little bit. So even if we take a long position and it ends up being a successful long position, there is a possibility that we may have some kind of drawdown. So that's why, in order to avoid the drawdown, that's why in order to avoid the inevitable drawdown in our long positions, I have been, trying not to take any long position. Short position, in my opinion, is not a very good approach. The reason for this is because Bitcoin dominance is ultimately dropping down. Let's just quickly talk about the main culprit, in our lives. A chart that all of us hate absolutely, which is Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin dominance, for those of you who don't know, this is basically the chart which dictates what happens with altcoins. And this is basically the market capitalization. And here you go. You can actually see this Bitcoin dominance made this huge impulsive move towards upside in 1 4-hour candle, and all the altcoin charts they started dropping down. This is why you need to be really, really careful. You need to be always looking at this Bitcoin dominance chart. And the reason why I have been I have been looking at it over and over again is because another chart which is correlated with Bitcoin dominance chart. You see all of these charts, they are in one way or the other correlated with each other. So the reason why it's not a very feasible idea to take long positions on any price charts on any altcoins, is because the total two chart, which is the market capitalization for altcoins, excluding Ethereum, right? Excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, this one has been struggling to break above this resistance area. So the point is that, why would you take a long position if the index for altcoins, it is sitting at a resistance area? It is like taking a long position at a resistance area. So you don't have to do that mistake. Maybe we would start attempting long positions as soon as Bitcoin drops back down to maybe 98.5K or 96K, the first thing. And secondly, the total two chart drops back down to this level right here, 1.41 trillion, which is the next support for this level, because at this point it's simply just sitting at a resistance area, and it's a very dangerous approach to take any long positions around here. Bitcoin dominance, it may go slightly in our favor because this one is also sitting at a resistance area. The burning question is that, what exactly is going to happen with altcoins? I would like to explain this in detail, but in tomorrow's live stream, I would do another live stream tomorrow. And on YouTube, we would have like 3 to 4 live stream every single week. But just to give you an overview, what is my idea about, altcoin market in general, Q1 2024, that definitely is going to be bullish in my opinion. People have been saying that there is a possibility that Bitcoin dominance, it may wick up to 70%. Now, you may have heard about this thing. Okay, Bitcoin just dropped back down to 99.6K. Okay, it's quickly moving back down to this support. Let's just set an alert around here. Let's see what happens when it drops back down to this 98.5K support. I was talking about Bitcoin dominance. There are two market opinions, right? The first opinion says that Bitcoin dominance, it would ultimately go back up to 70% level. And, I don't really understand how exactly that is going to happen, which is basically going to be really, really bearish for altcoins. Bitcoin dominance going up to 70% simply just means that the altcoin market, it would drop down a lot. The altcoins are going to drop maybe 60%, maybe 40%, 50% from the current level, which makes no sense to me. The reason people say this thing is because, in the previous cycle, back in 2021 also, Bitcoin dominance actually went all the way up to 70% level. But that may not happen in this situation, or we all know this thing, not every cycle is the same situation, right? This reaction around here, in my opinion, 59.89 up to 60% level, that in my opinion was more than enough, and I would exactly show you why. Okay, this reaction around here, it was more than enough. This reaction around here, this was more than enough. Both of these reactions, they were not random at all. I would exactly show you why. First of all, if you would draw the fib levels in this huge impulsive downside move, in this huge impulsive bearish move, you would notice that this price reaction, that we saw happen just a few days ago at 65% level, at 70.5% level. Okay, price ultimately wicked up to 65, 70.5% level, which basically triggered a good altcoin rally during the past like 2 to 3 weeks. And that's why this reaction around here, it was so important. And in my opinion, whatever had to happen with altcoins has already happened. They have seen all the downside move, and now Q1 2024, it's definitely going to be somewhat bullish for the altcoins, right? Now let's just completely ignore this smaller time frame debate, and let's just take a look on the 3-day time frame chart. Unfortunately, I cannot remove any of these drawings because unlike the other price chart, Bitcoin dominance, this is the only chart, right? But let's just try to take a look on the 3-day time frame chart, and we know the rule, right? The higher time frame you go, more accurate these things would become. The lower time frame you go, less accurate things becomes. Support, resistance, trend lines, chart patterns, fib levels, fractals, literally everything, right? So we know that this is a huge impulsive move towards downside. And I'm not talking about any random moves, right? This is the previous cycle stop. This was back in 2021. This is the bear market low back in 2022. And I'm looking on the 3-day time frame chart. So I'm not talking about a random price swing. I'm talking about two very important price swings in terms of all-time high. The last all not all-time high obviously, but the cycle tops and cycle bottoms. The fun thing that you would do is, this is a huge impulsive move towards downside. You have every right to draw the fib levels, draw it from the start of impulsive wave, end of impulsive wave. And guess what? Price had a perfect reaction, perfect on the Bitcoin dominance chart. We had the perfect wick up to 65% fib level. And that's why I'm such a big fan of fib level. That's why I'm such a big fan of 65% fib level, that once again nobody talks about. Everybody talks about 70% Fibonacci level, optimal trade entry. Everybody talks about 61.8% Fibonacci level, but 65% fib level, that is what the real deal is, in my opinion. So you notice that we had a wick up to 65% Fibonacci level, and then quickly we had a drop back down to these levels, 54%, right? Now you must be thinking why exactly this move back happened upside. And mind you, as soon as we hit the 65% fib level, that's when an that's when a small altcoin rally happened soon after Trump won the election, right? Now, the reason why we are talking about this move right here is because let's just draw a trend line, right? This is not the perfect example of trend line, but if we draw a trend line on the Bitcoin dominance chart also, this is a multi-year trend line. Like, this trend line started forming back in 2022, and now we are in 2025, right? Bounce, bounce, bounce. Once again, bounce happened around here, bounce happened around here, bounce happened around here. So every time price on the Bitcoin dominance chart came back down to this trend line, it was always a bounce. And we know the rule about the trend line, right? Whenever price is bouncing off a trend line, sooner or later it's going to break below the trend line, and it's going to be a very impulsive break below. If I slightly adjust the trend line, you can notice that price had a very impulsive break towards downside, and that's when a small altcoin move, altcoin rally triggered soon after the elections back on 5th of November, right? And then you know the rule. How would you trade the trend lines? You would wait for price to go back down to some higher time frame support, then you would wait for price to go back up, give a perfect bearish retest, and that's exactly what happened. Price gave a nice perfect bearish retest and dropped back down immediately. You could have simply just drawn the fib levels from this level to this level also, and once again the perfect 65% 70% reaction was always happening. And that's why I'm absolutely optimistic that we are very soon going to have an altcoin rally in this quarter. Bitcoin dominance has started going down. It has retested this trend line. It has given the retest at resistance areas. It has given the retest at 65% fib level. It has given the retest at 75% fib level, 70% fib level. So anything that had to happen with altcoin, you see, I'm just getting so many alerts because the way Bitcoin is dropping at this moment. So let's see how it reacts around here. But yeah, this thing has also started to break below the trend line. That's why you need to be really, really careful. Do not attempt any long position. Do not attempt any long position around here. I'm sorry. Do not attempt any long position around here because of the fact that now we are breaking below the trend line also. There is a possibility that price may have some kind of bounce around here, but the first bounce, the second bounce, the third bounce, and now it's breaking below the trend line, so it may very easily drop back down to 96k, 97k, right? So just need to be a little bit careful. Although, just like I said to you, on the USDT dominance chart, let's take a look at USDT dominance. It is now back at resistance area. USDT dominance, that's where the resistance is. On BTC USDT.3s chart, now it's coming back down to this support area. This is an important point of control. On BTC USDT.3s chart, now we are going back at this resistance area. This is an important point of control, which means maybe a drop back down to 98.5k. It just bounced slightly from 98.8k, but maybe a drop back down to 98k because the actual point of control is at 98k. So if I had to take a long position, although I'm not recommending this at this point because of the trend line, but if I had to take a long position, I would have done that at 98k, 98k. That's exactly where I'm expecting some kind of price bounce. All right. So, finally, let's talk about this price reaction at 108k. What was so special about 108k, right? If we just take a look at the previous cycle, let me just open up a blank Bitcoin chart for you. This is a KuCoin chart, and I guess it's a blank chart, right? Let me just remove all of these drawings and let's just take a look at the higher time frame chart, the daily time frame chart of Bitcoin, and um, let's just take a look at the previous cycle. Okay, this was the previous cycle, and this is exactly what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, this was the all-time high at 69,000 during the last cycle back in 2021. And this was the cycle bottom back in 2022 around 15,000, 14,000. All you have to do is we are looking at the higher time frame chart. This is no joke, right? You can look at the weekly time frame chart also. You can draw the fib levels, start of impulsive wave, end of impulsive wave, and you could have noticed that the reaction should have happened at this area between 61 and 65. This is what exactly happened. Price had a major reaction at 61.80 fib level around 49,000, 48,000. This was back in the month of January 2024, almost a year ago, when soon after the ETF got approved, we had a major price reaction from 49,000. Price went all the way down to 38,000. Now, as per this fractal, which is not a random fractal, which is a very important fractal, as per this fractal, the next reaction should have happened at, because this is a fractal which is telling you about the last all-time high, the last all-time low, which is telling you about this reaction around here. As per the fractal that had predicted the last all-time high and last all-time low, the reaction should have happened at 161 and 175, 170.5 fib level. And this is exactly what happened, 161, 170.5. And if we break above these levels, and that's why I'm saying that none of the things that are happening on the price chart, they're random. Everything is absolutely as per, some proper logical reasoning. As per this fractal, if we start breaking above, then we should see some kind of reaction at 261.80, 270.5. This is where the next resistance is going to be. And where exactly it is at 156,000, 161,000, which means that if we start breaking above The next resistance for Bitcoin, it's going to be at 156, 160, 167, 106, 156, and 161. Another fractal that we can use, and by the way, if you are interested to know how to use these fractals, there is a YouTube video that I did almost like 7 to 8 months ago when we first started this YouTube channel. And I did this live stream, working with fractal. And back in those days, Bitcoin was trading around 56,000, 57,000, and we were trying to predict that where exactly the next all-time high for Bitcoin could be. Okay, just go and watch that video and you would realize how important this fractal knowledge actually is. And another fractal that we can use, it's a slightly controversial one, but because in this situation you are using the data back in time. This is the start of impulsive wave, end of impulsive wave. The reaction happened around here, and in this situation also, the next all-time high for Bitcoin should have been in this range: 170.50, 178.6, meaning 99,000 up to 106,000, and exactly that's where the reaction is happening, right? And as per this fractal, price may drop ultimately down to 81,127% level. Even if we consider the last fractal, as per that fractal, price has every single possibility of dropping back down to 127% level, which is at 83,732. And that's why if we have a major reaction at this area, okay, just notice how price perfectly reacted once again at 161.80. This is 161.80. You can look at it in terms of higher fractal. You can take a look at it in terms of smaller fractal. If we start moving back down, we would ultimately see a bounce happening at 127.2% level. And that's it for today. Let me just quickly take a look at few questions, and then you guys can simply just let me know in the chat box how many of you have participated in the giveaway. I would announce the winner of the giveaways also. So once we hit the 1.41 on total, we look to long. Yes, exactly. That's the that's the approach as of now. That as soon as we drop back down to this higher time frame support, because why would you take a long position if that thing is literally at resistance? This thing is dictating what happens with altcoins, right? This thing and Bitcoin dominance. So I would wait for this one, this index to drop back down to 1.41, 1.40, and that's when I would start attempting a few long positions. If I just draw the volume profile just for the sake of simplicity in this situation, let's see. No. Anyways, if we draw the fib levels also, I guess, yeah, you would have to wait for this one to drop back down to 61.80, 65% level. It's very important. This is crucial and then factor in the upcoming news on Thursday. Uh, if you guys have any questions, then please make sure to drop in the chat box. Sherlock, can you please post fib settings? Yeah, sure. You know, this is these are the settings for fibs, right? You can take a screenshot. You can pause the screen and take the screenshot. All right. Uh, so for now, we look for longs until we bounce off that support. Yes, exactly. That's the plan. Exactly. XVG, we just have one long position on XVG. Let's see how that one goes. But XVG, it was failing to fill our uh DCA. I would update it in my channel whatever happens with XVG. All right. Is there a world where we can finish the month with Bitcoin in 80Ks? Yeah, that is definitely possible. Bitcoin going to 80K, maybe down to 83K, 84K. That is not something which is impossible to. So definitely it can happen. Absolutely, this is still a possibility. Thank you for the live stream, Sherlock. Thank you so much, Adrian. I cannot afford a subscription, but been following almost all of your live streams. Okay, so let me just quickly announce the winner of the giveaway also. So the first winner is going to be Adrian, since he just mentioned that he is not able to afford the premium at this moment. So yeah, Adrian, you can simply just open up. You can send us the uh screenshot of your YouTube account in which you have this username, in which you have this name. And let me just check your username also. Yeah, simply just send us a screenshot in the Discord support ticket, and support staff, they would help you. And let's just take a look at the next winner also. How many of you don't have premium subscription? Okay, Skype, Skype gets the next premium subscription. So, these are the two winners for the giveaway, Skype and Adrian. Congratulations, guys. All you have to do is simply just join the Discord server, open up the support ticket, and the support staff, they would help you. And by the way, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you are following me over Twitter. Also, if you would like to learn from me, I have a mentorship program. Also, the discounts are running. We have like 50% discount on the mentorship program just for New Year. It's still at $650. And this is a lifetime mentorship program, which means all the resources, they will be free of cost to you for just this fixed price for lifetime, right? So if you would like to join the mentorship program, you can simply just DM me over Twitter, or you can simply just open up a support ticket in the Discord server in Voxian. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. Please make sure to like the live stream, subscribe the YouTube channel, and join the Discord server, and make sure to follow me over Twitter also. Thank you so much. Take care and have a great week ahead. Thank you. I will try my best to do another live stream tomorrow. Thank you so much, Skype. Thank you.